And I took my shirt off. Three, two, one, go.
Sorry. Hello, welcome to the Trout Spinners podcast.
What was all that?
That was fake. That was fake anxiety. I can fake it like that.
Yeah.
I want people to know that I'm a professional podcaster extraordinaire.
He has played an annoying man in a shop, pushing coins across a counter. He's done that.
That's true.
For Alan,
I was good at that.
And he had to do this laugh in the middle of the supermarket, like really, like, ha, 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 ha. He did it. I didn't.
I don't really get embarrassed in those sort of situations because I quite like being filmed by someone else and being a bit silly, because it's quite an easy thing to do.
Attention. I don't think I'm not saying that. I genuinely mean that. I think that's okay. Like when we were doing, I was kind of a bit embarrassed to have to say all these lines in front of people just walking by, in the supermarket. But I know what you mean. When there's a camera on you, you kind of just go with it. And I went with all my lines. Do you remember the night before when we started?
We need to tell people what we're talking about.
Oh, okay, go on, tell people. Yeah, tell people.
So Gary and I, a few years ago now, it was probably our first thing that we wrote and filmed together. It was really, really like stressful and difficult. It was for like a Comedy Blaps submission, and we speeded through like the writing process, and we didn't know that we didn't actually have to film it, but we thought we'd film it.
Because Miles knows, basically most people had nowhere to film, but Miles worked at cinema. He knows lots of artistic people. So there's someone who is like a cameraman, but it's not his main job. But he does. His girlfriend did sound. It's not her main job, but she could do sound. And they had the equipment and stuff. So we thought, yeah, we'll film it. I mean, I didn't want to. I didn't want to film it, but
we wrote it. We basically wrote it, and we were both in it, and we cast. And Gary was going to be the main guy.
It was,
and it was all about the show was about just him being awkward in different social situations. In one episode, he purchased an ironing board and had to carry it home, and it was all about how.
It does sound a bit like formulaic and boring and cliche when you put it like that, but I know what you mean. That is true what you said. Like, there's a good description of it, but it was kind of a bit more than that. It was like more a comment on kind of the opening scene was in a supermarket, and it happened to be the opening bit of filming we did, and that's what we're talking about. When Mars just had a little role in it, and he was just an annoying man at a counter. But showed it to my dad, very critical of me, and he loved it, and all their family loved it. So I'm not saying it was good, but I'm just saying it wasn't like, for our first attempt, it was like not too bad, I think.
I think so. We'll have to share it at some point when we have a good day. No.
Oh. Well, no, we shared just because basically it's 3 episodes. One episode has never got made or edited, but the beginning one and the end one were both kind of edited. Mars edited the end one, and so there's kind of 2 separate pieces now, but they're supposed to be interlinked as one. But that joining episode hasn't never happened.
I think it's quite nice to have those things, though. Like, you can look back on that now and go, "God,
yeah,
we're exactly the same." Our comedy
we've gone down in quality.
No. Anyway, well, hopefully this show's a bit better. Hey, Gary, I'm 11 days clean of not smoking.
Are you?
Do you want to offer me any kind of congratulations or tap on the back?
You a Marlboro Gold. Test you.
I would gladly take that, Marlboro Gold.
Well, I was just gonna light a cigarette. Yeah, no, that's really good. That is good. Yeah, but you don't, one thing I'll say.
Cheers.
If you do fall off the wagon, it's not like the end. Don't go back to what you did go back to just because you've had one. Just think of it as, you occasionally have 1 cigarette, and that's much better than having, say, 5 a day or whatever you used to have. I don't know, but when we met, certainly it was up to about 28 in a 6 hours.
Well, I tell you what, it's not that bad. I have noticed. I keep feeling lightheaded. I don't know why. Whether that's like attributed to not smoking, but maybe it is because it's, I don't know, that sort of carbon monoxide's kind of leaving your body. But I've got this NHS smoking app, and you basically collect badges the more days you do. So I've got quit day, pulse rate, oxygen levels, carbon monoxide cleanse, full of beans. That's not true. My sense of smell should be improving.
It's not allowed to eat beans or onions.
Yeah. But yeah. It
Yeah.
says, and do you want to know what today's tip is?
Go
Give
on.
yourself a manicure. Treat your hands now they no longer have to hold staining cigarettes.
Oh, little did they know that Miles gives himself a manicure every other day. So no, that's good. I'm sure that app is well made and good and things. I don't smoke very much at all. I'm going to be honest now. It doesn't matter who listens. I don't
He's
care.
not
But
listen.
I do. The only way I could quit was with vaping, and I find that very good. But the ideal way to quit is to quit completely, because vaping is much better for you than cigarettes, but it's still not great for you. If you can do it, like 11 days, that's the longest you've gone since I've known you.
Yeah, I have done it for longer than that, but it is hard. So, hey, if anyone out there is giving up smoking, well done. Because I think
giving up anything, or a diet or whatever you're doing. Yeah, it's not easy.
It's not, is it? It's really hard. Shall we move on to the show?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Still I think lots of people like us when we talk at the beginning.
Well,
who are you supporting in the next election? No, let's not do that. The show is, well, we haven't even said the name. It's the Trout Spinners. You know that. If you've downloaded this, you know it's the Trout Spinners, but I'm just saying it anyway. And yes, it's a weekly retrospective on the Ricky Gervais show. And this is for new listeners who might come this week. This is a retrospective. We go show by show. This week, as Miles will tell you in a minute, he'll give you a little rundown of the show. Is episode 40. But I can tell you that. So, Miles, what kind of happens this show? And then we'll get into discussion.
What kind of happens this show is Ricky has done his back in wrestling. Rockbusters contest today, Cheeky Freak of the Week, Lobsterman, and the Siamese twins who got run over. Monkey News, Chimp number 86, the magician's assistant, hopped in the car at the gas station and drove to Spain. I'll put a link to the original show in the description, and then when you're ready, come back and join us.
Hi.
Hello, you all right?
Welcome back. Yeah, so, and I'll just say, because we always forget to say this, coming up we'll have general discussion. We've got favourite quotes where we go through our favourite quotes. Please send us in yours. We have XFM in the community where we go through some of the feedback we've had last week, some of it, and we choose a little song which flusters me every time right at the end, but that's what's coming up. Did you get that off Pilcopedia, by the way? Because Pilcopedia's down. I know it goes on Pilcopedia, but...
Yeah, I always take the description from Pilcopedia, and it was down for a bit, and I got a little bit of anxiety because I was like, don't make
me... It's still down
for
me.
It's no, well, it shouldn't be. It should be back up now.
Is it up for you? Okay.
Yeah. Gary, what are your initial thoughts on this episode?
It's a very good one. I like it. I like it a lot. Because there are parts of it that I think are not that interesting, but overall it's got some of the classics. I mean, why didn't he just look both ways? Obviously that would be coming up in my favourite quotes, but and you mentioned it there, but it's one of the great quotes from Carl Pilkington. I think it's up there. It's up in the top 3 or 4. It's got some other great moments in as well, like the Rockbusters. Good start to the show with Ricky's kind of story of fighting, and you can just kind of imagine that. I can imagine him lying on a sofa putting his socks in someone's
smelly socks.
Like, yeah, that's just so Ricky.
And you're also commissioning editor of Channel 4 as well. Like, the sort of circles he's in at this stage, and he's like, "Do you want to have a wrestle?" And a little part of me goes, I want to wrestle with the Channel 4 commissioning editor.
Yeah, wrestle a 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. slot off him. But no, it shows the confidence Ricky's got at those times, because like a lot of people in media, even people who are successful, I think, would be trying to impress people. Like it would not, I'm not saying they would always be formal and everything with them, but commissioning editors are so useful to know. They wouldn't kind of wrestle them to the ground.
No.
Like, it shows his confidence. Like, he's not bothered about like making contacts about potentially kind of putting off people that could give him a show. He's so confident.
Imagine you're the elevator pitch. You walk in there. It's the commissioning editor at the BBC. and you get him in a headlock.
Take your shoes off.
Yeah.
Get your socks. But no, it's a good story. I always think it's interesting point that Steve talks about his living room, and he says, because your living room isn't big, and that makes me think, bloody hell, if Ricky didn't have a big living room at that stage, like I often think this with,
well, you think how many living rooms has he got now?
Like, because I know, but like I think, am I overspending here? Because I'm not earning about 1/30th of what Ricky's making at those times, and but my living room isn't big, but it's probably it's about the same, the size you described it as.
Could you wrestle a middle-aged man on your carpet?
I can. Well, you've slept on my carpet, haven't you? So you've like you can fit on
I
my.
say slept. Well, I say slept.
He says, well, we set him up on the sofa, but because I didn't have anything like
an old dressing gown with toothpaste stains on.
Yeah, I like the opening discussion. It's good, but it's got some moments in that I don't particularly find interesting. I know I'm going to clash with you on this. We might as well come to it now. But the chat about who would you have to dinner has never been interesting to me. I always skip through it. I listened through this time because for the show, but I didn't listen through.
Your research like you should do.
Absolutely. Read Wikipedia and just pretend to listen. No, that's not true. I never ever do that. But it's dull. It's really dull. Like the answers, it's not Carl's fault, because if you're coming up with something off the fly, you can't always come up with really interesting stuff. Carl's answers aren't interesting, and again, it's really not a criticism, because we're going to do ours soon, and I probably can't come up with an interesting list. I don't begrudge him that, but what Ricky says about his picks, nothing is interesting, nothing is funny, nothing is particularly funny. So what Steve says isn't funny. The only thing that's funny is after they finish that bit of chat, and I think they have a song, and Steve comes in and says it's mildly funny, is like, the thing I like about numbers 4 and 5 is you didn't even know their names. That is a funny comment, because that's funny. Carl's inviting these people to dinner, he doesn't even know their names, or two of them. But other than that, I don't like that chat. It's just not.
Okay, here's my thing. I do kind of partly agree with you. It's not the most scintillating, it's not the most interesting chat, but it does give you an example of what Carl can come up with, like without any sort of prompt, without thinking about it at all. These are his first like honest answers, and it's funny because the choices are so bland, they're so dull. And in my head, I'm just imagining what that dinner table looks like. You've got two women he doesn't even really know. You get, like you said, the bloke with one arm, don't know the name of him. You've got Kim Marsh chatting to the woman who sailed around the boat. Like, that's a mental lineup.
It's a weird.
It's a mental lineup.
Yeah, it's weird, and it's kind of it's a product of Carl's head, and we love Carl, and I love what comes out of his head. It's just that there's 1,000 examples of stuff coming out of his head that is funny, much funnier than this. And I really am not criticizing him, because it's not. He wasn't even trying to be funny there. He's just coming up with some people, but it's just not that interesting. The chat around it isn't that interesting. The people, yeah, they're weird, and it is weird. Like, it's weird. It's not weird enough to be. It's not really weird, and it's not kind of like really lifelike, where Carl can get great comedy out of stuff that isn't actually weird, but it's just his kind of thoughts. It's kind of in that in-between area of weirdness. It's like the lady who sailed around the world. That's it. It doesn't. It's not that interesting, that chat. And I don't hate it. It's not like I think, oh God, this almost offends me. But I've never found that chat interesting.
Maybe it's a bit too sincere for you. I like the bit where he says,
it's not sincere. It's not. I'll just say that this not, and it's not because there's no laugh out loud stuff from Ricky. There can be funny moments on this show, many, where there's no laughter amongst the three of them, and there are moments on the show, and I've talked about them, and you know that I feel this way, so that are sweet, sincere, and not necessarily laugh out loud funny, sometimes not funny at all, but they're sweet and sincere, and I love listening to that bit of radio, those bits of radio. This isn't anything. It's not sweet enough. It's not sincere enough. It shouldn't be. I'm not there's no way it can all be like this, but it just isn't sweet, isn't that sincere, it's not funny, and it's just not that interesting. Okay. But
I liked the bit where he says, I'll tell you who I would have, Peter Kay.
Yes,
Peter Kay.
actually,
He's a funny,
yes.
and they went. So this is a good moment because it's him trying to get one up on Ricky. He's being critical about his choices, so he's going to play his little trump card.
Yes,
He's going to
sorry,
go.
no, you're
I tell
right.
you who would have. I said, Peter Kay. And he goes, and then Ricky sort of goes as if like, right, why? And I love.
No.
We've spoken about it before, but that sort of friendly rivalry that Ricky, because they were the darlings of comedy at that stage, weren't they? And it was very much Peter Kay, Office. Sorry. You've got Ricky Gervais, The Office, Phoenix Nights. And to me, I'm a big fan of Phoenix Nights. It doesn't come close to The Office, but it's very, very funny.
Can I
for
do
me.
a line from Phoenix Nights? My favourite.
Yeah.
It won't make any sense out of context, but if you know this, you know. I'm getting the word nonce. Do you know what? Can I just tell you? Right,
yeah.
I've seen this on Facebook. You might have seen this on. Oh no, you're not on Facebook, are you? There's these people, right? Celebrities who will give you a birthday message for 50 quid. Like you pay 50 quid.
I have seen those.
And one of them, like usually it's like you see the celebrity and it's quite sad, really. You think, God, how sad you're kind of struggling. A lot of ex-footballers are doing it and things, but I saw one with Clinton Baptiste, that character, in character, he will give you a birthday message. So he'll be like, hey, he's like, hey, Clinton Baptiste here. Do you want a birthday message for bar mitzvahs or weddings? Or, he's such a great character. And it's so funny to see him in character giving those messages. So, but yeah, that's my favourite.
Does Ainsley Harriott do birthday messages?
I don't know.
I've got a birthday coming up. Well, I don't. I had one.
Don't. Bloody don't.
I could fake it.
Say just to kind of make a point. Yes, you're right, and I forgot. Actually, I'd listened back, and I was going to mention this as the one funny bit, and I didn't. So you're right. It was an omission from me. It is funny when Carl says, because it's the way he says it. It's like he leaves the pause. He knows. I'll tell you what, Peter Kay. He's good, isn't he? He's good, and it's great because Ricky loves that kind of banter and things. Ricky Gervais. Well, yeah, but he's like really funny. So that's funny. That's a funny choice. The rest of it, I don't.
I know what you mean. So, Gary, you're hosting a dinner party.
Okay.
Who are you inviting? I'll tell you what, because I actually can't wait. Can I tell you mine first?
Okay, but yeah, we'll have to bear in mind that what we just said about this not being that interesting. But let's make it. Interesting. They better be.
Okay, well, I guarantee you, my list is way more interesting than Carl's.
Shall I do a list? I didn't know until about.
We'll blitz through them.
Yeah.
So my dinner party, right? I obviously have to have Carl Pilkington there because I have to have him there. I just want to watch him and hear him, and I've got about a million questions, and hopefully he'll come on this podcast so he doesn't need to come to my dinner party. After that, I've got Carolina Hearn because I genuinely think we'd get on so well, and I would just dazzle her with praise for the royal family. Then moving on, I've got Bob Mortimer. Just because consistently funny, and he'll be brilliant. I think he'd come up with some great recipes as well. Trapped potatoes. That's what he talks about when he's talking about a tin of potatoes. And he's like, I'd make him like corned beef hash or something like that.
Yeah.
And then we move on to the chefs. So I've got Gino D'Acampo. I know quite a left field choice for me, but I think he'd be bloody hilarious. And then you've got Ainsley Harriott, of course.
Yeah, of course. Well, I didn't even need to. We didn't even need to say him. We know. You just take it as read. Gino D'Acampo's funny. I've seen him on some This Morning clips. He's funny. But I think the balance is maybe wrong there. I love all those people, but you've got three really strong, funny people, like comedians, like Bob, Caroline, and Carl. They're not all extroverted, but they're all kind of fun. It's almost too much. Do you think it'd be maybe too much humour?
It might be too much, actually. You're right.
And then you've got two chefs. You only need one. Really,
well, to be honest, it was going to be all chefs at one point.
That's a good idea, actually. That's funny. Could be a stand-up point. Your 5 people you've invited to it, and they're all chefs, of course, because you want them to cook. Okay, so mine. I had a bit of time to think about this. I would Noel Gallagher.
Yeah.
I'd start off with.
I don't think you'd get on though. That's
no. I don't necessarily would get. He's an arrogant, brash, pop stroke rock legend who probably doesn't talk that much to normal people. Like he's probably not rude in the street when they say hello, but he's probably not like a real talker. I don't care. I want him there. I want to be close to Noel Gallagher. Secondly would be Harry Hill, my comedy. Absolutely. And again, Harry's probably the same. I don't think he would mix that well with me, so I wouldn't get on with any of my.
He also wouldn't be the Harry Hill that you want him to be.
No,
he wouldn't.
I don't want him to be that Harry Hill. Actually, it's an interesting point because I would want to see the real Harry Hill. Like I know what you mean. I wouldn't want him to be like to make weird comments about the food and to be who he is, why I love him, like his style of comedy. I just want to be with the real man, Harry Hill himself. Then I'm struggling. So. I've got. I mean, your guests are very good, like Caroline Aherne and Bob Mortimer. I'd love to. Caroline's a very good choice, I must say.
That's why I said it.
Yeah.
But it's. Do you know what I mean? It's quite a hard thing to come up with because you're right. You want to strike the balance. You don't want someone to be too funny. Then you've got to have a bit of serious chat there.
Yeah.
Can I say one that will make me sound really... I'm also choosing people like, to be honest, I wouldn't want to talk that much. I would just sort of I would just observe this play out. And also, I'm not being funny. I'm not a very good host, to be honest. I'd probably be stressed out. So I'd probably just get a takeaway and just have loads of booze.
What would Gino D'Acampo think about you getting a takeaway? And he's like, my parsnips,
What the fuck?
Whatever he's cooking. But, that was perfect Gino D'Acampo impression.
Was it? Yeah.
I do impressions for birthdays and bar mitzvahs. And,
Italians are famous for their parsnips.
They're root veg.
Yeah.
But here's pasta alla vederci.
Pasta. Yeah.
And then you're getting a takeaway. I don't think you should. And Ainsley could knock up a good meal. I'd love it.
He'd be like, I open a nice Caribbean restaurant nearby.
He wouldn't be the Ainsley you want. He'll be a serious kind of Ainsley.
Have you seen that video when he surprises Jill? Hello, Jill. Hello, how you doing?
Have we seen that video? We messaged about 50 times between us with that video. Like I can't remember who sent it to. I think I sent it to you, or you. And then there's an additional video after that. And Jill's just so nonplussed. She doesn't know what's going on.
It's fucking terrified geriatric OAP.
If you're go and search for Ainsley Harriet Jill, and you'll have a day's worth of entertainment there. So I think another person I'd have. I don't care how this comes across, but I'd like to have Michael Foot there.
Stuart Foot.
Now, do you know who Michael Foot is? You probably don't. You don't know? Okay. He was leader of the Labour Party in 1970s, early 1980s. Early 1980s, actually. And very much like Corbyn. But I know we're not going to get political in this chat now, but I'm just saying he was very much like Corbyn before Corbyn. He was very left-wing. Yeah. He got elected. He's a great guy, a real big Plymouth Argyle fan. In fact, for his 90th birthday, for a present, Plymouth Argyle, the football club, signed him. They signed him up as a player. Like, obviously, he didn't play, but he was on their books as a player. Like just for his 90th birthday, squad number 90. But that's not why I would like him. He's just a fascinating character. Other than that, probably do you know who I genuinely like?
Go on. Peter Kay?
The Yorkshire Ripper. No, Peter Sutcliffe.
Would you really?
Yeah. I would probably want him there.
Would you want him in some sort of like jacket, some straight jacket or something?
No, smoking jacket. No, probably cuffed. I'd say, but I'm just fascinated by it. Not because I like him. I don't not endorsing him or like him. I'm just fascinated by him.
I think I want to come to your dinner party now.
Yeah, I think we'd have more fun because you got Harry Hill there. Like he won't be his exuberant self, but he's still going to be funny. Then you've got Noel. He's got the cocaine, so we're okay there. He's bought that, and then you've got a touch of politics. I
know what you mean. You've got a good balance there.
Yeah,
I just want out and out comedy. Because I just love learning about comedians' lives, particularly their early lives. Partly the reason why I love like this podcast and these shows so much. I just love the origins of comedians. I've got the real thing about that. Origins and like duos. Like I love like comedy pairings.
Yeah.
But hey, we're in danger of this feature being the whole show.
Oh,
So
yeah.
let's move
Well,
on.
I was going to recommend, you can cut it out if you want, but
Yeah,
just because we're talking about one very nice one of that, which is about a comedy duo, but it's about their origins. It's filmed well after. I can't remember what it's called. I think it's a documentary featuring the two writers of Father Ted, and they go back to Craggy Island. And they just chat about their kind of time writing as they met, and how they were writing about the material about nuns came from literally living around nuns as a child.
It's mental. Is that Small Far Away? Is that Small Far Away?
Near Far Away.
Oh, that's it. Yeah.
But, sorry, no, maybe it is Small Far. But no, I think that's a separate documentary. Because there are two. There's two. It's not. But that I'd also recommend Small Far Away. Anyway, let's get back onto discussion.
So I think this show has got, for me, it's got a lot of filler. I don't know. It's got very sort of light observational comedy stuff at the start. The French restaurant, some sort of tapas at the start.
Tapas is a good line, but I know what you mean.
The tattoo chat. I mean, I'm kind of spent when it comes to people chatting about tattoos and piercings, even though it was kind of nice to think about Ricky as a new romantic. These topics are like, I don't even want to talk about tattoos because I just get bored of it.
I know what you mean, but it isn't the most interesting chat about the tattoos. But to be honest, I don't listen to it and skip it because it's so uninteresting. Because I quite like when they talk about their days, and especially when they talk about like what they were doing together. Just if it involves them walking down a street and they saw something.
Yeah.
It's like you can imagine them actually walking down a street, and it's like nice little going back to that time when they were close. And they just do normal things. They're super successful, but you still got to walk down the street and you still see things. So I quite like hearing about those stories. But yeah, it's not the most interesting.
For me, this show has got like three big moments for me. It's like the dinner party chat, which I quite like. It's the cheeky freak of the week with the free freak thrown in for good measure. So you've got the Lobsterman and the Siamese twins, or bloke with two heads, and why didn't he look both ways? And just to wrap it all up, you got the best monkey news, in my opinion, which is number 86. And there's no car at pump 4. Pump 4, is that one of the monkeys?
I've said this before about a few different guys, but actually, honestly, with this one, and it's always the case because I narrowed it down to quite a few, but we were so close to this podcast being called "There's No Car at Pump 4." Possibly, I would have preferred that as a name, but anyway, we've gone with what we've gone with now. But yeah, I would agree with what you said about the having three moments in the show, but for me it's got two big moments. Just the dinner party chat isn't like, but you can hang a good show, a decent XFM episode, a really decent one, around two really standout moments. And if you've got the rest, which is just nice little chat, for me the dinner party chat's boring, but the rest is pretty good. That's enough. Do you know what I mean? Two huge moments is enough, like, to sustain the whole show. So why didn't you just look both ways? And there's no car at pump 4. I won't even do them in my favourite quotes because I've done them. So honestly, they are both in my top 5 of quotes ever. I wonder what listeners think. Do you agree with that?
What I like about the monkey news is it's just so well told. Like Carl, even though it's load of shit, it obviously didn't happen. The way he tells that story is he goes, they arrive, he's a magician with a little cap.
He adds all these
little details that you're just like, there he is with his cap, 86. And they arrive at the petrol station. He puts the petrol into the car. He goes to pay. And everyone knows. It's like a you've been framed clip. Everyone knows what is going to happen.
Yeah, we all know. But it reminds me of, in a way, of not the actual monkey news, but it kind of reminds me of what Steve said about, I think Ricky said, like when they talk about having your head chopped off way earlier, series 1. Yeah. The way Carl tells that story is like, he goes, he says, all right, I'll see you in the morning. And I think Steve says, I love the fact Carl knows exactly what was said. And it's that kind of thing of, Carl doesn't just say, a man got his head chopped off and he talked for like 5 seconds. He says he went to bed, tucked him in, he knows all these little details that
I love you.
that make the story. But yeah, I agree. He tells the monkey news fabulously. this week particularly. And of course he knows it's not true. We all know he really knows.
Monkey news is, yeah, but that's what monkey news is. It doesn't matter that it's true. It doesn't matter.
No,
it's yeah, exactly, yeah.
What you do, you don't suspend your disbelief to believe that the monkey news is true. What we do, we all do this as an audience, and we all know we do it, and it's a valid thing to do. We suspend our disbelief that Carl believes it. That's what you suspend your disbelief on. You don't suspend your disbelief about monkey sound. But yeah, so it's fantastic. The only weird thing about it, I mentioned this a few episodes ago when there was another example of this, and I gave this as another example. It's such a shame for some strange reason. Like, everything tells me that was geared up for a huge Ricky laugh, but he doesn't. He just scrums up because he's so shocked by it. But I don't know. It's just, it would have made it to have a huge laugh there, I think. But it's kind of interesting that it doesn't. But it doesn't, and it certainly doesn't ruin it. But do you know what I mean? You create a big laugh there because it's so ridiculous.
I've got just some quick fire things to throw at you. Some quick questions before we move on to our favourite quotes.
Oh, okay, is this a new feature?
Not really. What animal am I thinking of?
You?
Yeah.
Quick probably.
Fire.
Okay, because you're so one track mind, and you heard that he was thinking about a monkey. You're thinking about a monkey.
Thinking of a duck. What's better, Rockbusters or 40 minutes of Ricky stand up?
Rockbusters.
You best. Sure? Yeah. Okay. Fax or email?
Email.
Okay. Good answers. Well done. You've done. You've charmed me.
Did I? Yeah. Did I win?
He did. Yeah. Do you know?
What did I win?
A thumbs up from an old friend.
My what?
Hey.
Exam.
Well, I'm not. That's not.
You're the last person I'd want to do it. Pete would do it.
He would, yeah. Did you know, this is just a quick fact, a quick fact that I thought was quite interesting. I always find it really weird that Ricky thought that Roy Orbison was blind, which is like ludicrous. I don't think anyone
was blind. I
he wasn't blind.
No, hang on. Let's see this, because we can. I come at that fact from a different point of view. I might be wrong, but the whole time I'd heard them discuss that, because they're not sure. Like, Steve thinks he isn't blind, Ricky thinks he is, Carl thinks he is blind, Ricky thinks he is. They're not sure. He was blind, mate. He was blind.
No, he wasn't. He said, I looked this up, and this is why I think it's quite an interesting fact. He said he was known for his shyness and stage fright, which was countered by wearing dark sunglasses.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I thought he was blind.
No, that's Stevie Wonder you're thinking of.
No, I know there's other people who are blind, and I wasn't confusing Roy Orbison and Stevie Wonder. Because there's different, but
there's many differences there.
Let's get off that. But yeah, I thought Roy Orbison was blind. I was sure of it.
There you go. But I think that there's something in that, because that one time I did stand up unsuccessfully, the glasses, I wear glasses because for like short-sightedness and just to focus generally, but I genuinely felt more confident with them on whilst approaching.
You do actually. You do use your glasses constantly because you can see absolutely fine without. I mean, you probably have to squint a bit without them. Like, you're not they're not strong, but you like wearing them. I know what you mean. I don't wear mine because they've broken. I just haven't bothered to get them fixed. But
they are the exact ones that Keanu Reeves wears in the Matrix.
That's a good line. But yeah, we neither of us need the glasses, but you do tend to wear them quite a lot. Yeah, but I like them. It's not the same as Roy Orbison, is it? Because they're not sunglasses. You're not hiding behind them. If anything, make your eyes bigger to the audience.
I tell you what, sometimes I forget. I think that because it's on my face, I think like a face mask is like sunglasses, and I think we're all guilty of this, right? When you wear your sunglasses, you do have a little look to see what's on the shop windows. And you just like to look at things. It's not a creepy thing. Everyone does it. I tell you, everyone does it. But I often think that I've
got a telescope in my flat.
But I often think that the face mask works in the same way, and I totally forget it's not. It's the wrong half of my face that it's being covered. So I'm just looking at people like fucking Bane from Batman, just going, "Hello, you all right?
That does sound creepy. What I use the face mask for, because I like to, when I'm I always do this anyway, but I do it amongst when people aren't looking, and I like to mouth the words to Oasis, I've always liked to do that, and pretend I'm singing. Like, obviously, and I did that. I've always done that, but have to hide it when people are around. But with the face mask, I can do it all the time. Like, they can't see my mouse move.
That's true.
So
yeah. And you can't laugh, and also you don't feel any shame laughing publicly to the Ricky Gervais XFM shows.
Well, no, I don't laugh, but I love the Ricky Gervais shows. But you can still tell someone's laughing in a mask. You just can't tell they're mouthing a song or staring at someone's breast.
I'm not looking at that. Anyway, let's You've
done yourself in, mate. You self-incrimination. That's what.
Yeah.
So, that was our general discussion about the show. Let us know your thoughts on anything we've talked about. Be very interested to hear what you've got to say. But now we're going to do our favourite quotes from this week. I've got quite a lot this week. We're going to kind of rush through them. Miles, is that music I can hear? No, it isn't.
What's that?
I can't hear any. Is that a sound bed? Is that a bed I can hear?
Oh yeah, no, we can't. Do you know why? Because the listeners didn't want it.
Yeah, no, we've had quite a lot of feedback actually.
Yeah, no one likes the music.
So it wasn't just one piece.
£70 onto license, and that's all that sort of cost.
£70. That's what it cost us. Anyway, right. So
thanks. I do genuinely like helpful feedback of the show. So it's good to know no one likes it. Winifred Fowler commented. He said, "This feature would be 10% better if you removed all the music. How am I supposed to listen to this while I practice piano?" People are listening to this podcast.
That's the best comment we've ever had. I love that. So it's such a non sequitur that he's listening. He's doing piano. Can't imagine our listeners playing like classical instruments.
No.
I just imagine them quite lonely like us.
Eating yogurt through with their hands. That's how I imagine it.
Okay, so you've had about 5 fights. I just like that. Like, it's such a weird thing to say. We'd had about 5 fights, but he says it so nonchalantly. And Steve Brightly will pick up on it. Sorry, you've had about 5 fights. You're a middle-aged man. Another businessman,
08700 800 1234. If you're in the fax industry, give us a call.
Yeah, that's good. That is good. Have you ever seen like the David Attenborough stuff?
David Attenborough was quite close to being on my list at the dinner party.
I would pick Richard Attenborough, but that's separate. I've met him.
Yeah, because he's got some prescription lens sunglasses, which we'll be talking about after the break. Yeah. It's that again what Ricky does so well. It's that slight hesitation. He's speeding through his sentences so quick, and he doesn't know what words is going to come next. So it's all in the delivery. That one, not the funniest, but great delivery.
Good delivery. I agree with you. This is another one that's all about the delivery actually, but a very different style of his delivery. So I'm going to try and do it like him. I took my shirt off. I took my shirt off.
Oh God, can you imagine? Seriously, just slapping someone's bare skin.
Yeah.
All right, here's your Rockbusters. Yeah.
It's just classic. Eve. I know Ricky does that because the story's good. He always comes up with characters, like whether he plays them or says he's
Renee.
Renee. But Eve is my favourite.
Just giving them a mention. I didn't say that right, but you think I'm being tight, think I'm being out of order, but I'm just giving them a mention, just giving them a shout out.
Yeah, I'll try and do this like Steve. Yeah, nerd. Yeah, nerd.
Isn't it funny because Ricky really, really laughs at that bit, doesn't he? Because he's saying because obviously the development of Steve's look, getting his haircut as Gavin's, his fancy haircut, cool glasses. So he's grown up in such a short spell of time, isn't he, Steve? But because imagine that look. Oh my God, that would cripple.
You see the very early photos of him. He does have that, his hair is a mess, but that's but look at him now, like he's
great. Good looking chap.
They both actually. This is a separate point, but Carl looks exactly the same. Doesn't look older, doesn't look younger, maybe a tiny bit older. But Ricky and Steve have both focused so much more on their look these days.
Ooh,
Oh, you want to marry him then? No, but they have
and
growing beards, I think, but not necessarily my length beard, but growing some stubble really helps the look, I think. Not that I'm, I don't want to sleep with them, but if you're going to do your own, at least make sure you're a good drawer.
That's a good point. Bloody good point.
What bloody good point.
And a bloody good meal. I tell you, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I tell you, I would have Peter Kay.
We kind of covered that, but yeah, you got to do. I tell you, would have Peter Kay. Featuring Mr. Cheeks.
Yeah, that's great. Have you heard that song? Ricky, Steve's got this very, very strange fascination and love of hip hop, and he does actually talk about it on his Desert Island Discs, but yeah, very unusual music taste, just unexpected. Great
I know. Well, he's got goes to Rage Against the Machine concerts. You can just imagine there, you can spot him in the crowd because he's
with a balloon,
wash,
yeah.
But you're right. You wouldn't, to look at him, you'd think, maybe a bit of Celine Dion or something, You've heard it.
I love that line. That was going to be
we've messaged that a few times to each other.
You've heard it. I think even Manchester's safer than that.
Yeah.
It's that yeah at the end that Carl says. It's just again trying to swiftly move on. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very real, it's not even other shows that don't I'm not saying other shows. You can have a radio show or a podcast that they don't script things, but they always thinking, what does the listener want to hear? What should we say for the purposes of the show? Whereas Carl doesn't think like that. That's a good example of it. He just thinks, what do I want to say to kind of move away from what I don't want to talk about? I don't care if I'm on a show or down the pub.
And slagging off Manchester as well, which slagging off Manchester,
yeah. I've got that's mine done. So.
Oh really?
Oh no, but I did have, but I've kind of left it out because it's so good. Why didn't he just look both ways? I mean, it's just my classic. There's no car at Pump 4, sorry.
Well, that was going to be one of mine anyway. So the last two I've got is again, this is a Ricky slur. And we like to do a Ricky slur on the show. What monkey can I see tonight?
Yeah.
What monkey can I see tonight? Just love. I don't know what.
I like their confusion as well at the 86 because it's true. It doesn't make sense what Carl says because he's got other monkeys and it's what do you mean? And Ricky's genuinely confused there. He's not acting what do you mean? He had 86 other monkeys. I don't know. And
he also says monkeys. You get monkeys. He misses the N.
Yeah, because he's genuinely confused there. But okay. What's your last one?
Last one is there isn't a band called New Order.
Yeah,
it's another listener gone.
A band called New Order.
There is. That was terrible. But I do quite like Cellar Black. I do quite like that as a rock.
Sell Her Black. Sorry, I thought Sell Her Black, and then I thought, no, it's not Sell Her Black, Carl. It's not Sell Her Black.
Wrong doesn't mean cryptic. Wrong doesn't mean cryptic.
Yeah, so let us know your favourite quotes from this episode on Twitter or email or anything.
Spinnerspodcast@gmail.com.
Actually, on that, now we're moving on to the ex-fem in the community section, and Mars is going to read out some feedback from listeners this past week, or it's been about a week and a half since we've recorded, or something like that. So we've got quite a lot of feedback, but I'm just going to read through one now because I told him I would, and we read most of his email out last week. But
can I just say this email? This is from. Is it John H?
Yeah, John H. That's it.
So yeah, John H. sent us an email. Really, I can't believe how much effort you guys put into your emails. I'm really amazed and very taken aback and appreciate it. So much thought, well written into these emails. My emails are shit. Seriously.
No, my emails are quite detailed. You remember when I was trying to get back that money from the flat stayed in. But no, John, I'll say we just don't have time to read out everything that you've written, John. But I did want to read your quotes. But you have, he puts this series episode and the exact minute that it happens in, and then he writes a lot about each one, but very interesting. They're fascinating, what you said about them, so really interesting. But the actual quotes themselves, these are top 5 quotes, and of course there's no television. That's a good one. It seems I don't know anything about the building industry anymore, which is from series 1.
Where's that from?
That's
Right.
Steve. That's Steve when he's talking about fake Rolex watches. He'll tear your soul apart. It's Hellraiser. What's Mr. Nosy Neighbour interested in? Hello, what's going on here? That's series
These are
1.
really, they're just such like,
They're weird,
not
they're different. Like, they're not classics, like, to me, but they're great for his top 5. You know,
I love it. Yeah.
Oh, and this is the last one. Steve's made you look like a bit of a twat already, and it's only 1:05. That is a classic, actually. So, yeah, thanks, John H, if that is your real name. But yeah, the effort he's gone to kind of write why each of these, like what he likes about them. He's given us the exact minute just in case we wanted to go back and listen to it. But yeah, thanks for your email. And Miles now is going to read out some other stuff that we've had.
I will be reading out something very shortly, but firstly we've got Jake Bellamy. He sent us a voice memo, so I'm just going to play it now.
Oh,
all right, it's Jake in that. Just messaging because I've had an idea for you. We like XFM in the community. What about XFM in the monkey community? Yeah, if you think about it, in the last 20 years since the show, how much monkey news is going to waste? If you got the Trouties weekly to send in monkey news, and then you two can have your thoughts on it. Just an idea. That's a feature that'll run and run. All right, so that's it. See you later.
So that was Jake telling us we need to start doing our own monkey news. Can you imagine how long this show would be if we did the monkey news as well? But he did send us an article. I have actually read this before, and it's very funny. It's monkeys, the snow monkeys, who relax in sort of therapy.
Oh, yeah.
Have you seen that?
Yeah, I have. I have. Not from his link, but
it says snow monkeys use hot springs as spa therapy to reduce stress. Do monkeys get stress?
Yeah, they're very, very common in that. They do, yeah, absolutely.
But they didn't say. I don't think the spa's run by a couple of chimps.
No, that's true. Thanks, James, for the voice message. Anyway, yeah, really appreciate it. Actually, but we've put out for voice messages. We do get quite a bit of feedback these days, but we don't get that many voice messages. But if you want your voice heard to at least 3 or 4 people, across a national broadcast, across countries, and a little Saudi Arabian fella. We have got listener in Saudi Arabia. Send us a MP3 file with your voice in it, and we'll.
You got that right. Oh my god!
I know. You got that right. I know. It was all guess in the wind. It was like a broken clock's right twice a day, so I had to be right eventually. But yeah, what other feedback have we had this week?
So Rob Banks, he says, I loved the last show and excited for the next one. I remember you saying that Ricky uses material from XFM in many of his projects, but mainly his stand-up. You discussed there was no issue in him plagiarising himself, which I completely agree with. I actually think this goes a bit further than this, and Ricky is literally using the show to get material, and this is why he carried on for a long time after becoming very famous. I wouldn't be surprised if he made notes on every show he did. I can't think of any better source for writing material than 2 hours with Carl and Steve, where they were constantly throwing around random ideas together. I actually think this probably may be a reason why he isn't too bothered that they have a large amount of listeners, and he is happy to continue on despite not having the quantity of listeners Ricky Gervais could and should have on a different show. Just an idea, and would be great to get your thoughts. Finally, I am doing a stand-up course this weekend. I honestly think hearing about your stand-up experiences, your hospital radio, and how you managed to channel your creativeness whilst doing other work was a big inspiration and motivation for me, and encouraged me to sign up for the course. Hey man, good bloody going for signing up for the course, because I would be. We've both said I have actually replied to an email. We both just as he says that I've only done it once. Gary genuinely wants to pursue a career in like stand up, and I think you'll be amazing at it, as I've always said. Very funny.
I've always liked because of Harry Hill. That's what my get.
Yeah, but it's a very, very stressful thing to do, and like, but what better way to like build your confidence up? And like, I remember like on our barely experienced doing it, like, but you have such a rush after. And we said this on the show before, but it's if you're doing it for that rush, like, So when you do, Rob, when you do your first stand up, like, you're going to be amazing. Like, it's going to do so many wonders. And if you're in London or if you wherever you do it, do let us know or send us a video. We'd love to see how you get on, and do let us know how your
unless
career in stand up goes.
And I'll get jealous then. No, Rob, but that's lovely, man. I think it's so nice that inspired you. It's kind of like that's like literally the point of that's the best thing that anyone could have written, really, because it's lovely to inspire someone to do stand up or hospital radio or whatever we've done. But yeah, so amazing, and good luck with it. I think you'll be really good. You've written a couple of emails to us now, and I can tell from that you're a creative person. I think you'll do well at it. Your point about Ricky, I think I'll kind of go along with that. I certainly think he knew the show was like a goldmine for comedy. I don't think it was quite as certainly not as organised or as targeted as that. I don't think he carried on with the show deliberately to get stand-up material. I think they probably did the podcasts so he could get material for his stand-up, but on the radio show I think he just did it because he genuinely just enjoyed being with Carl. He just went along. He could be drunk, he could be hungover, it doesn't matter, you just do it. It's technically work, and I think he enjoyed it. And I don't think he was organised enough a person to write notes on each show, but I might be wrong, but I just don't think he'd write notes on each show. But I generally go along with what you're saying, that he probably carried the show on partly because he was getting stand-up material for it.
Well, if Ricky's interested, there's full transcripts of the shows on Pilkopedia. So that's where
I thought you meant of this show. He could listen to this show.
No, he's not interested.
No.
Thanks, Rob. This is from James Lutchford. Guys, if I suspect I'm your only listener, can you please inform me of the frequency of your podcasts? I know it's only a tin pot setup, but if you want me to become a Patreon, you're going to have to step up your game because these sporadic episode dates are messing with...
This is another sporadic one as well, isn't it? Jeez,
I even resorted to such desperate measures as to download Dutch or otherwise, and after years of our RKS referring to hospital radio, I now know what they meant. Take that from what you will. I go running whilst listening to your podcasts, and thanks to you, I've put on £8 because it's hard to run whilst pissing yourself laughing. Hurry up! P.S. You need to find out what Ricky was referring to in the show where he mentions to Steve about telling an anecdote about his dad and a shed. See you later. But he does put it in brackets. Please don't say that in that twattish voice, although I know you're gonna.
See you later. I'm sorry, I'm going to do it as well. See you later. I'm going to do it. You can't write. I cannot see that phrase without saying it in that way. But James, thank you for your email. It is Tim Pot, as you've recognised. It is shoddy, and we're sorry about the sporadic days. We generally record on a Friday, put it out on a Sunday, but that's not always the case. So, like last Friday, I couldn't do it. Just things came up, so we do it on Tuesday. So, but we do have basically full-time jobs as well. I don't have a job, but I've got a full-time course. So it is difficult to get them out. But I take your point. Thank you for your letting us know about your running anecdote. It's very funny.
And and if you are interested, James, there's loads of that. Well, there's 3. There's 3 extra episodes on
Patreon. We stopped doing Dutch Rock Voice we haven't done for a while. I think we should do one soon. But it's like whenever we do a Dutch otherwise these days, it's like as we're talking, we know this is going to be heard by no one basically.
Well, I think it's hard because like Dutch otherwise, when we first set up Dutch otherwise, it's basically a reference to our old radio show that we did. It's basically like looser. It's basically looser chat, not necessarily tied to Ricky, Steve, and Carl. I think it's nice because Gary and I, we obviously we can witter on for bloody hours.
Yeah, boring.
It's just whether that's entertaining or not.
No, but we kind of, if you do want to hear that kind of chat, that a bit looser, kind of a bit not necessarily all related to Ricky, Steve, Carl. Some won't, some only want that. But if you do want that kind of chat, we are putting stuff like that on our Patreon. So our Patreon page has become a bit like Dutch or otherwise. So we'll always do the shows free to air that are reviewing each episode of the Ricky Gervais Show. We'll never put one of them on our Patreon. So you get the normal content. But if you want the extra, 50 quid a month. That's
50 quid minimum.
Yeah.
No, yeah, it's not. And that show is called His
Oh
Little
yeah, His Little Legs. Okay, yeah, so it's called His Little Legs. It's I regret not calling this show, the main show, His Little Legs, but we didn't, so we thought we'd use that name for that. But essentially, His Little Legs is very much like Dutch otherwise was.
This the last one is from Luke Linares. Not sure if you've come across this before, but I found this podcast that Carl is on from early last year. He was a guest on the Distraction Pieces podcast, hosted by Scroobius Pip. It's really good. The purpose of his appearance here is a promo for Sick of It, but they talk about his whole career, and it has some really insightful takes on the whole Ricky-Carl relationships, Carl's mindset when he was deciding to leave XFM, and how he felt after that, as well as a discussion about Carl falling into acting. Slowly but surely catching up with your podcasts by working my way through the episodes. Keep it up, guys. P.S. Just listen to the podcasts covering episodes 18 to 21, where you discuss your own podcast's listener demographic and who it is listening to the XFM show now. On that topic, I'm 22 and myself and my pal have listened for years. Study leave in high school at 16, 17 was spent by us with them on loop. Mental to think that despite the shows being dated in some ways, they're obviously timeless enough that people my age, born in 98, after Series 0 was recorded, still enjoy 90 fucking 8. Oh my God.
98. I know, it's crazy. Like, you'd think. People born in 2003 can drive legally.
Yeah, it's mental.
Yeah, but thank you, Luke, for your whole email. I'd certainly check out that podcast. It sounds very interesting, especially because if it's just stuff for Sick of It. I've seen stuff like that, but if they actually go back and really get into the nuts and bolts of Gervais times, that'd be really interesting.
I have actually listened to it, and it's a great. I listen to anything where Carl Pilkington features as a guest, and he's right. It's one of the few times where Carl doesn't talk about it that much, but for old XFM fans like us, like, you just want to have more and more. In your heart of hearts, you want more and more XFM content, or you want a behind-the-scenes look at what it was like, because we're all fascinated by their personalities and their career at this point. So any kind of drip drab of like information, and I should say actually. I got a bit drunk last night, Gary, and I emailed.
Is it illegal what you did?
No. I put a face mask. I emailed a few people. I emailed Duncan Hayes, who was Ricky's agent.
Well, we said we wouldn't email Ricky's agent because he would never come on.
No, just the agent.
Yeah,
I know Ricky won't.
Okay, yeah. No,
I think Duncan will be good. Who else did I think I tried to get hold of Jonathan Ross again. It's hard as well.
Trying to get Jonathan Ross on, yeah.
But I don't want to get I want to ask him how he shaves his ass.
But but just for the reason you summed up there, it was a very good summary. So that's why we want Carl, because you just want it, even if it's a drip drab of information. And we would that's why we'd love to interview Carl, because we'd purely be talking about those times, and hopefully it'd be something that people want to listen to. But it's obviously difficult to get Carl. We've got a new lead on getting Carl on, and actually. Andy, if you're listening, because he's emailed us, but it's more of a personal email, which I'll be replying to in writing. But he does a Simpsons podcast called Stay at Homer, and you should check that out. Very good. But yeah, he's had a very interesting career. He's an author. He's worked with Ricky, with Carl and Steve, and his podcast is about the Simpsons, so he doesn't talk about those times, but he's got contacts with Carl and Ricky, so hopefully he'll help us get Carl on. But anyway, that's the name. But you should stop emailing, Brian Blessed and people random.
It's so hard not to, isn't it? Because I don't know. I just want to. I love doing the guest episodes as you do too, and it's just it's great to get a new insight, a new perspective, another voice on this podcast, just to find that little bit more, slowly and surely we're kind of, excavating, the remains of XFM and shining a new perspective on things, which I think was kind of ultimately always was the aim of this podcast, to be honest.
Yeah, and it's like you get new perspective on things from us, but that's just we all listeners, everyone has their own perspective on things, and hopefully we have given you ours. But it's more interesting. We're going to say, I admit, it's more interesting when you hear the opinion of Dickie Anderson direct or Lisa Ullman,
Oh,
or I can't remember, or who else?
Andrew Phillips,
Andrew Phillips,
Laurie
yeah.
Peters.
Andrew Phillips, Laurie Peters, yeah. Laurie's great. So yeah. Anyway, but we're going to try and get those sort of people on. But yeah, I've forgotten who emailed now. Was it Luke?
You're like.
But
No, it's funny because you're doing you might as well be Ricky now and just go, oh, forgotten.
Oh, for fuck, yeah. No. Who was it who emailed? Luke.
Well, Luke, because he's going to he's going to X-Men tonight, but he can if you want.
Yeah, he can.
That was Luke.
Shut up.
Shut up. I'll tell you what, Luke. Though, I love that you mentioned that yourself and your pal have listened for years, and your study leave when you're 16, 17. What a wonderful time to just spend listening to your shows with your mate, endlessly quoting, going to the pub. Well, you can't go to the pub at 16, 17, but you could probably sneak in a few pints or something. But just sitting down and chatting about it, I think it's so...
episode. You'll keep...
I know.
Deviant behaviour. Stop it. Stop doing it. You'll get done for it one day. No, I know what you mean. But yeah, because I'm thinking back to my time in sixth form common rooms, and we would talk about, we'd talk about Shooting Stars episode last night. We'd talk about, but you're not listening to it at the time because you didn't have media in those days in the same way you have media now. You can't just, listen to stuff. But it's really interesting. Yeah, I agree. It's interesting that you're 22. We've got a listener who's like 16 himself, which is crazy. And then we've got a listener who said he was like 60, 68 or something like that. So it spans the generations, this show, and the interest in it. The only thing is, I would say you'd have to be 16 to kind of get it, because, maybe this is just me and this is just a poor reflection on me, but I think it's the case with most people, is that you really don't, you think you do, but you really don't have a fully formed sense of humour that you have as an adult when you're, say, 15 or 14.
I don't know, I think that's a bit patronising.
Honestly, mate, there's so many things I used to enjoy when I was 14, 15. And I look back now and think they're shit. No, but I'm saying 16, when he says about him, 16, 17, yeah, I can kind of see that. But you're at the very early stages of your fully formed sense of humour. But it's great. It's great to hear you enjoy it.
I think it's really nice for me. Like, I think it's great revisiting things, and I've done this as a habit during lockdown, actually, revisiting loads of films that I've seen or like thought I've seen, and when you come back to them as an adult, your level of appreciation is so different. But that is in no way to dilute what they meant to you when they were younger, when I watched them when they were younger. It's just really curious to see how they change, how the meanings and the sentiments.
But
it's like when I was really young and I listened and I used to watch religiously. Part of the reason I didn't really have any mates when I was younger, because I was always just watching comedy DVDs. Like I had loads of Jack D DVDs that I could literally recite, literally like word for word, alongside Bill Bailey, Park Troll, and I knew all those. And when you return to them, they fill you with so much joy, and you understand things differently. But you've also got that. The silly things that made you laugh when you were younger, you've still got that in your memory.
Yeah, that's true. But I find the reverse as well. There's some things you revisit that you loved as a child that are shit in your opinion, like in your adult opinion, in my adult opinion anyway. Like certain things I liked, comedies I liked. I really laughed at very basic kind of comedy that I don't think. I'm not saying it put like giving myself an air of superiority, saying, well, I laugh at clever things. But I think if you're one of our audience, then you've got a certain sense of humour, and it's probably a good one, and it's probably well developed. But mine back then, I would laugh loads at the most sort of bland comedy that I would look back at now. But then there are films that meant a lot to me, like Jumanji. It's fantastic. It meant a lot to me. It's like, it's emotional watching it as a child. And so going back to that now is like, even though I'm removed from being a child, because it's about two children, isn't it? So I was a child then. So it's like me going on an adventure, even though now I'm an adult.
With Robin Williams
on that adventure. Robin Williams, of course, is classic, but you kind of remember that association you have with,
I'll tell you what film this is. You're talking about Jumanji. My Jumanji was The Mask. I thought The Mask was the funniest thing I've ever seen. One of my first crushes was Cameron Diaz in the red dress. Had such a crush on that. But it was perfect because I loved Jim Carrey. I loved his like wild, wacky sense of humor, his physicality, the silliness of it, the cartooniness of it.
I was the mask in my bedroom, and I was acted out the mask, and how I would be if I had one of those masks, like in my bedroom all the time, like as a kid. And I wasn't that yet. I mean, I was about 11, I guess. You must have been too young to appreciate it when it first came out, because I think you were literally too young. But obviously it was still around, by the time you were. I don't think you would have been like aware enough, like, of films and things when it first came out. I might be wrong, but I think I was about 10, so you must have been about 3 or 4. Yeah, it's classic, absolute classic. But Jumanji as well, particularly, and this is by another Robin Williams.
Yeah.
There's a big thing about like Miss Doubtfire, because when it came out, I remember it was like it had been labelled a 12, and this like classification, I think it was a new classification, 12, and it was like so many people saying kids want to see it, kids, and I was under 12. I think with an adult they let us in, but there was a big thing about Miss Doubtfire coming out and being a 12 rather than a PG.
Why?
I think someone says shit in it. I can't remember exactly. I think someone said shit once, and they made it a 12 for that. But anyway,
that's a bit silly. Oh, but I was just gonna say, The Mask, if you're interested, it hasn't aged very well. I have to be honest.
I love The Mask. I haven't seen
it.
I
still love it. Anyway, Gary, I want to wrap this up because I'm bored of talking to you, mate. That was a very interesting discussion, by the way. But I thought we could wrap it up by having looking in our Trout Spinners library. Each week, Gary and I select a song that means something to us, or just something that we like, and we put it into our Spotify playlist. And I'll put a link in the description. What are you going to put in this week?
Well, tell me if I put this in before. I don't think I have. But I have got a habit of doing that. I think I might have put it in. It's Time to Say Goodbye by Andrea Bocelli and Sarah Brightman.
You put that in before.
Oh, shit.
Do you want me to go first?
You go first. Yeah, you go first. We'll record. So go back.
Okay, cool. So first, I think I'll have a go at this. I'll put in For All We Know by Donny Hathaway. I was quite a latecomer to Donny Hathaway. I didn't know anything about him. It's kind of this sort of soulful singer. It's really beautiful songs. I know Amy Winehouse was...
Is this sort of country?
No, not at all. Yeah, it's more like soulful. I know it was big inspiration for Amy Winehouse, who did a cover of his songs. Died far too young, but his songs are so beautiful and very relaxing to listen to. I'm really into like just relaxing music recently, just very chilled out stuff and soulful, chilled out entertainer. You know me. Anyway.
Okay, I'm gonna put in. I've just looked something up, so I'm gonna put this in. This is it. Kind of means something to me. It genuinely does when you think, because this. Like the Jumanji takes me back to when I was 10. This takes me back to when I was 30, and we did our show together. And I'm going to put in, see if you remember this, I'm going to put in Macy's Daybird by Diane Cluck.
That name still gets me. Diane Cluck. If you know who Diane Cluck is, email in. Spin this podcast
that I had, because I'd run out of playing all my music. Everything I played everything on the show, so I played Diane Clark, and it's it's a weird name. I even did a Rockbuster about her for our very final show.
Oh, no one's gonna get that.
No,
I know, I do.
I did. Yeah. Anyway, so that's mine. Macy's Daybird by Diane Clark. It does take me back. The song wouldn't know if you literally shoved it in my face and rubbed it in. But it means something.
I thought you were gonna.
Reminds me of our show.
Yeah, that's a nice choice. I thought you were gonna put in Cuban Pete by The Mask from the soundtrack of The Mask.
No.
I love that song.
I don't know that, but.
Well, I think we're gonna spend our weekends and our weeks watching nostalgic movies from the 90s, crying about being too old.
Right. No, actually, I'll tell you the one final thing, because we've got to go. I would recommend this to anyone. This isn't an old thing. This is a very new thing. I have honestly, and Mars knows, I don't watch things. I don't watch things really very much, like especially long things. I have fallen completely in love, and that's not an exaggeration, with The Queen's Gambit.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. Watch it.
Well done for getting that late. Well done for coming to that late.
Yeah, I know it's late.
What's your take on Queen's Gambit? Give us a review of Queen's Gambit.
I haven't watched it all, so don't touch it. But it's the stylistically, it's fantastic. It reminds me of my childhood in a way, even though it's completely different. But Mr. Scheibel looks a lot like my grandpa who taught me chess. I'm not like a prolific chess player, like a very good chess player, but I do play chess. I enjoy it. The style's great. It's fantastically warm, but also cold. It's got a great balance of everything. That's my review.
Good one.
We will be back sporadically at some date or other in the future. Don't know when, but no, as soon as possible. And thank you for listening. Let us know your thoughts, and we'll see you next week.